What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the World of Sports podcast. I am your host, Deegs, and today we're going to be talking about college basketball, but specifically the 2018-2019 Duke men's basketball team. If you didn't hear a few days ago, the number 2 overall recruit in the class of 2018, and quite possibly the most prolific high school recruit since LeBron James was in high school, Zion Williamson, committed to Duke over the likes of Clemson, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. Most sports experts had him going to either Clemson or South Carolina, so it was kind of a shock that when he actually chose Duke, as most people believed they were kind of on the lower down of the Zion Williamson totem pole per se. But with him going to Duke, he is joining R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, and it's the first time ever that number 1, 2, and 3 recruits in a class are going to the same school, as well as Trey Jones, the number 10 recruit. So the Blue Devils do have 4 of the top 10 incoming recruits for next season. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down each recruit individually, and then we're going to kind of mix it all together and talk about how Duke will be next year. So for starters, we're going to talk about R.J. Barrett, the number 1 recruit in the class of 2018 out of Canada, but currently playing his high school ball in Florida. He is 6'7", so he has the size to play small forward. I could see him more of a shooting guard, but he has really long arms, so he could play small forward at the next level if need be. Barrett is a great finisher at the basket due to 1, his length, and 2, he's a phenomenal athlete. For his size, he has great court vision, and he's kind of showing signs of potentially being a point forward in the future. Kind of that Ben Simmons lefty role, a guy who can bring the ball up the court and start an offense, or play off ball. Unlike Simmons, who he is a very good shooter, Barrett is a phenomenal shooter. At the free throw line, he can convert his free throws, but he's also really streaky. So when he gets hot and he gets going, he can really get an offense going and really pick up the pace and intensity for his high school team and any team he plays on in the future. That being said, he is a great defensive player because he's got really long arms, 6'10" wingspan, but his athleticism and his kind of stocky build project him to be a great defensive player in the future. I think this guy has lockdown defender written all over him at the NBA level just because he's quick. He seems to know what he's doing on defense. He can guard 1, 2, or 3, and if he puts on some weight and grows a little bit, maybe the 4, depending on what kind of lineup or situation he's playing in. I think R.J. Barrett's a great player. I think that he's definitely a top 3 recruit, but just in my opinion, I don't think he should be the number 1 recruit in this class. The guy who I do think should be the number 1 recruit in this class is going to be the guy we're going to talk about next, and that's Zion Williamson out of Spartanburg High School. He's a 6'7" guard/forward, depending on how you want to look at it. The first thing to me that pops out when I see Zion Williamson is just how really big he is. He's built kind of like an ox. He stands at 240 pounds, but the most impressive thing about him is how athletic he is for him being 240 pounds. If you ever just are bored, go into YouTube and type in Zion Williamson highlights, and you will have the most fun you've ever had in your entire life. He is an absolute freak athletically. He's hands down, to me, the best athlete in this entire recruiting class. And his entire offensive game kind of revolves around the fact that he is extremely athletic. So if he has ever to suffer kind of an injury that could become a detriment to his athletic ability, I don't think Williamson will be good, which is kind of a red flag, kind of depending on how you want to look at it. Take that with a grain of salt. But he dominates the game, really, with just how big he is, how fast and how quick he can move for being 240 pounds. I've always said this, he is a guard/forward that plays like a center. He likes to get down in the low post. He likes to create his own offense. He has a natural feel for the low post game, which is really impressive for a guy who is only 6'7" and really doesn't project to be kind of a 4 at the next level unless he really grows. Like I said earlier, he's really quick, really fast for being 240 pounds. He can guard 1, 2, 3, and maybe even 4s with that kind of size. But I think Williamson is a great player. I think he is going to be a great defender at the next level because of how agile he is. And as a playmaker, he is an above-average passer. He finds his teammates. He commands a ton of attention because he's very aggressive and physical, and he gets to the hoop and finishes really, really well. So I think the only kind of bad thing about him is he can't really shoot. He lacks a jump shot, and to really make himself lethal offensively, he is going to have to become more comfortable shooting the ball because teams will start to clog the paint and they'll leave him open to shoot wide open shots because they know that he can't knock those down consistently. But if this guy gets a jump shot with how big he is and how athletic he is, I'm sorry, but this guy is going to be a stud. The league will be over. He will be the next polarizing great player in the NBA. He has the highest potential in this class and should be the number one recruit. I think he's better than RJ Barrett. I think he's better than Cam Reddish. I think he's the best player in this 2018 class. So with that being said, I think Duke and Coach K will try and feature him because he is, I think Coach K believes he is the best player. But now we're going to move on to Cam Reddish, kind of the less talked about guy between Barrett and Williamson. He's 6'7", just like both of them, but he's a guard. And the biggest thing about Cam Reddish is he is just a pure scorer. I don't see him playing point guard for this team. They talk a lot of NBA scouts say he's very versatile. I don't think he has what it takes, and his game doesn't really mold as more of a guard. He's definitely a shooting guard / small forward and will be at the next level. He's got really good size. That being said, for if he says at shooting guard, he's got great size, really long arms. He's got a +6 wingspan. So if he's 6'7", that means he's got a 7'1" wingspan. He's really strong. He's built. He looks like an athlete. He is a really good athlete. But the biggest thing about Cam Reddish is how good he is at scoring the basketball. He's extremely effective in isolation, offensive situations. He creates his own shot, but he can also play off the ball and demand so much attention that he can create shots for others. And just for how old he is, he's only 18 years old. He has an extremely advanced offensive game. He's a good shooter. Like I said, he can come off screens, or he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective and to just get buckets. He's extremely versatile defensively. He can guard 1 through 3 again because of his size, how long he is, how quick he is. He's got really quick feet and good hands, and I think that he will be this the kind of the go-to scoring guy on this team. Williamson's a great scorer, obviously. Barrett can score too, but I think Cam Reddish right now at this very moment has the most polished offensive game in this entire class. So I think he's going to complement Williamson and Barrett really well. The kind of knack on him is that's all he really is good at is scoring. So I think he's going to have to expand his game a little bit, focus on other things, pass the ball up. He is a decent playmaker, but I think if he can focus on getting the ball in other people's hands and not forcing shots, he could be a true stud. So he's going to complement Williamson and Barrett well when teams are trying to focus on those two guys and kind of forget about Cam Reddish. And that gives Duke 3 really good scorers on the court for the majority of the time, assuming that all 3 of these guys start. So the final guy we're going to talk about here, and the number 10th overall recruit in this class, is Tre Jones. He's a 6'1" guard, really only a point guard, true point guard. He should never ever play shooting guard, and I don't think he ever will play shooting guard. He's an excellent leader, a great floor general. This is the kind of guy that every coach would want to have on the court because he kind of mimics what a coach is on the court and what everyone would love to have initiate their offense. He's a great ball handler. He wants the ball in his hands because he wants to be able to make other people around him better. Tre Jones is a pass-first point guard, and I know that there's very few of those kind of players now because everybody likes to score and everybody likes to put up big highlight reel numbers. But I think Tre Jones is going to fit with this team well because he's going to get those 3 kind of big 3 guys the ball whenever they need it. He can create shots for himself and for others, obviously. While most people look at Tre Jones as kind of a really good only pass-first player, he's a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's got a really nice shot. And I think that's going to translate really well to the college game and the next level. He's a pure passer. If you had to define a playmaker, it would be Tre Jones. So I think that's going to work out really well for the Blue Devils that they were able to get a guy like him. But the one thing that I don't think is good about Tre Jones is, and he can't really control this, he's not big enough and or athletic enough to guard high-level point guards. And I'm talking about like NBA-level point guards. So when he goes up against guys in college that are going to play at the next level in the NBA, he's going to struggle. He's not good defensively. He's quick, but he's not quick deep on the defensive side of the ball, and I don't think at the next level he will be a good defender. But I think the Blue Devils will have him here on the court to give the ball to Barrett, Williamson, and Reddish and get the offense involved and get the offense going. And that should be his main role on the team. So now let's kind of bring this all together, combine these guys, look at the guys that they are bringing back, and what will Duke do well and what they won't do well. So my biggest concern right now is with having all these high-level recruits is will all these guys who have been superstars in their high school teams are talked about nationally on ESPN and stuff, how will they be able to play well together? And I think that the guy who's really going to bring these superstar recruits together, like I said earlier, is going to be Trey Jones, because Trey Jones is going to be that floor general that is going to give everybody the ball. He's going to create shots for Reddish. He's going to create shots for Barrett. He's going to give Williamson the ball down low in the post if he needs to. I do think that all four of these guys can play on the court together. It's kind of a small lineup because they're Barrett, Reddish, and Williamson are all 6'7", and you got the 6'1" Jones. But Coach K will find a way to make it work. He does it every single year. Assuming Wendell Carter comes back, maybe, then there you go. There's your center. So you have four kind of smaller players, and you got that one big 6'10" body down low. But they'll make it work if they really want to win and they really want to have success. Then they will give up shots for their teammates. They will play well together. They should gel well. But I think Trey Jones is really the key. And if they are able to gel and they are able to figure out how to play together, I don't think that there is a chance in hell that this Duke team doesn't win the national championship. Now, I've said this a lot about Duke because they do have year in and year out usually the best team in the country. They have the best coach in the country, and that's not even close. By far, he's the best coach in the country, and that's coming from a Kentucky fan. But if they are able to fit, this is the best recruiting class I think the Blue Devils have had in at least 15 years. And everyone always talks about, oh, Duke chokes in the first or second round. If these guys figure out how to play together with how good they are and the elite level of talent that is going to be on this roster next year, you're looking at a legitimate undefeated season and a legitimate title contender for the NCAA tournament. So watch out for the Duke Blue Devils because they have the firepower, they have the coach, and they definitely have on this team, on next year's team, they have what it takes to win. So if you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, or you want to let me know what your thoughts are, drop a comment down below. I'll try to respond to it immediately. Also, if you like this video, make sure you drop a like. If you never want to miss another one of these, subscribe. And thanks again for watching. Have a good one.